And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Godspeed. Now, the tagline when I first saw Godspeed talked about, it was "the space race is a lie," or was a lie. And it's like, you see this guy here and like, ooh, what's happening? Well, it almost looked like he's horrified or whatever, and that's not actually the case. So the theme of this game is, hey, yeah, we went to the moon, but the moon was just a distraction. We're actually colonizing a planet far away, one-way trip, and we're fighting against every other country. In this case, it's written from the perspective of an American, but you can be multiple countries in this game, all racing to colonize a planet. There's no fighting. There's definitely some negotiation that goes on over the course of the game, but it's mostly a straight up what we call a Euro game, trying to get resources and trying to move up on prestige tracks because you want to be the best of the best. And whoever's the best of the best at the end of the game is the bestest, and they're the winningest. And yeah, let's just talk about the game. In this game, players are trying to get a various number of points, moving up these prestige tracks. Whoever's the farthest up on each track is going to get points at the end of the game. You can even get negative points if you're down too far on these tracks at the bottom. You're also going to be trying to get these milestones. They're different colors, but they're all the same thing. The first person to do various things over the course of the game will get milestones. And then over here, you have these cards that you're going to try to make happen during different rounds. There's 10 rounds in the game, and in the first 3 rounds, if you accomplish this, for example, if you have completed an exploration and a commerce card, then you'll get 3 victory points. And as players go through the game, they'll put flags on them if they accomplish those goals as you go through. Each player is going to pick a country. So here, for example, we have India. When you take a country, you'll get some flags to put on the milestones. You're also going to get 5 buildings: the Xenolamp, the Relic, the Fortress, and the Warehouse. And depending on which country you start with, one of these will already start built. The Biocorp's building is the one that starts built for India. You're also going to get 5 different people. These are workers, the ambassador, the trader, engineering, biologist, and captain. The ambassador is a value of 7, but the other numbers will possibly change from country to country. For example, Russia's engineer is a 3, and their trader is a 2. But then on the other hand, their captain is a 4. So players are also going to be starting with an initial starting objective that they have in their hand. This says complete your first infrastructure card, and then you'll gain these 2 resources on it. And players will have a cargo hold card that they will be drawing randomly, which will give you some of the starting resources in the game. And one player will also start with the tiebreaker token, which will not always, but sometimes break ties. The first part of each round is the High Council. You'll turn over the top card here, and so here we have nuclear proliferation. As more nations on Earth develop nuclear weapons, an ambassador's council must meet to maintain a working peace. And so in this deck, you're going to have 2 cards for each of the 5 different workers. They're randomly chosen from a deck, and each player must give up their worker here. So here I'd put my ambassador. To avoid getting a negative effect. Here you would go down on the track of your choice. If everybody goes there, then you will get the positive effect. Here you'll get one of these tokens, which is a wild resource. But only if everyone goes there. So if you don't go there, you get the negative, and you get the positive if everyone goes there. But you may not want to go there because you may want to keep that worker for use in other phases. There's a deck of cards for the next phase, a supply depot, where supplies are sent from Earth. These cards are placed face up, 1 for each player, plus the first player marker. And so players are going to have the opportunity here, you don't have to spend 1 or more of your workers. The numbers on them is the bidding value for this phase in the supply depot. Although you can also use credits, or you can use the wild rovers, which count as anything, to add to your bid. Whoever picks highest will pick one of these. Whoever bids highest will pick one of these cards or first player marker first. And again, if there's a tie, that's broken by the tiebreaker token, or a person closest clockwise to it. And then each person will pick something, and then whoever bids the highest will pick a second thing. So winning the auction will allow you to get 2 different things. And it's possible if no one picks first player, it goes to the highest player. There's a few minor things. And these cards are also stacked in 3 different groups, so these cards will get more powerful as time goes by. A card might be as simple as, here, this is a delivery. It just gives you a resource. Or these architect and lab techs, those are one-time use workers that you can use if you spent your worker somewhere else. And this here gives you a relic. A relic is going to be needed for you to get and build your special relic building, which will possibly give you points and or special abilities later on over the course of the game. In the action phase, players are going to, in turn order, starting with the person who has the first player marker, take 2 actions one at a time using different workers. And you're going to be able to place these workers. Now, any worker can be placed here in the scrapyard, and it can be a whole pile of them here. It gives you a resource of your choice. Other than that, workers can be placed in their particular section. So this biologist, for example, can only be placed in the exploration section up here. Each of these sections is going to do something different. At the bottom of these 2 sections here, infrastructure, defense, commerce, and exploration, if you place the proper worker there, you can do one of 2 things. You can either draw 3 cards, look at those 3 cards, and keep one, discarding the other 2, or you can go through the cards that you already have of that type and build one. When you build a card, you're going to look at the cost at the top. These cost 3 coins and 1 of those minerals, 2 coins, a mineral, and 2 science. And once you build them, you'll put them in front of you and you'll get rewards. Sometimes the rewards are a resource, but more often than not, they're going to move you up on the prestige tracks. Well, and sometimes they'll give you a special ability here. Like this lets me move up 1 on this track for every player who has less money on hand than you. Of course, I want to play that one at the right time. I can also go send my ambassador down to the diplomacy area here. And again, there's only 2 spots in these things. Here I can take a card off any deck and 2 wild resources, but I give everyone else a resource. Here I can complete any card. And then the top of each of these 4 sections will do something different. The commerce lets you gain 2 resources of your choice. Here I can go through the leftover cards in the supply depot and take one, or the ones that people have used already. Up here I can draw a card from 2 different decks, and here I can build a production building. Remember, everyone started with a production building. You can build the ones you haven't built here, and that's the resource cost of them, and then you'll simply take that building and put it above your board to show that it's been built. Now, as I said, building these development cards are going to allow you to move your tokens on these prestige tracks. Whoever's the highest on each track at the end of the game is going to get 8 points, 4 points for second, 2 points for third. As you hit the starburst or the top, you'll also get a basic resource of your choice. And if they go down, you'll lose points at the end of the game. These milestones will also be given out. The first person to build 3 infrastructure development cards. The first person hit 12 on one of these tracks. The first person to build 1 of each. You simply take these, and they're going to be worth 4 points at the end of the game. So those are worth getting too. Players will, in between rounds, they're going to be running kind of they're going to be going through. Some of your cards will go off between rounds. If you've built your relic, you get to move up on a specific track once per round. And each building that you've built will give you a resource of that type between rounds. So building a bunch of those buildings can get you points as the game goes by. In the third part of the game, in the last 4 rounds, there's also going to be special abilities that are going to come into play. And if you've built your artifact, you'll be able to take one of these. Well, you can take it before you build your artifact, but it doesn't give you any bonuses. And do what it says. So here, during resolution, I get 1 of everything. Here, once per round, if you complete a development card, you can do a second one. Here, you can complete a development card for 1 less resource. Here, +4 to your bid in the supply depot each round. Here, ignore capacity limits on action spaces. You can go there even if other people are there. They're all fantastic, but you don't get them till the last rounds. At the end of the game, after the 10th round, you're going to add up the victory points, and whoever has the most is the winner. The game here, the rulebook is really well done. I really like a rulebook that clearly explains and shows where everything goes. So huzzah for the rulebook. If it is a little big, I always complain about that, but that's minor. I'm really happy with everything else. The components for the game are cool. It's neat that these are in plastic. There's one fairly noticeable exception here, and that is moving these up and down on the tracks. When you're moving them on top of each other, it just is a little fiddlier than I would like. And it happens a lot over the course of the game. But other than that, the symbologies, the colors, the tokens, and everything, and this is the normal version. There's upgraded components you can get, but the normal version, I'm really happy with how it looks. I like the variety of countries that you can play. The whole thing is just a lot of fun. There's some really cool concepts in this game, and it takes a bit, to get on kind of how they all flow together, because the game has a really nice natural flow to it. One of the things I like in this game is how the board itself, it shows you, you know, you go from here to here to here to here to here. That's a nice flow, and I like how the board's built for that. And like I said, the iconography and everything, it works really well. The game is about building those cards and moving up on those tracks. Everything else is kind of, yes, you want to get the milestones, yes, you want to get your tokens onto different things, but it's about building those cards and maximizing your resources. So I should build the production buildings because that gives me a resource every turn. If I build a production resource on turn 1, that gives me 9 of that resource. But at the same time, there's only a few spots to go there, so I need to bid high. And in this game, more than many others, the bidding for first player marker is fierce, or just the bidding for that supply depot. So the High Council section sounds like it's just a big area of intrigue and back and forth, but most of the time everybody sends their worker there. Why? Because you get something good if everyone goes there, and you don't get something bad happen if you don't go there. But sometimes, and it has happened, you sit there and go, I don't want to give up this particular worker, like the ambassador. I was planning on doing something with the ambassador's turn, or I'm going to build green cards for my hand this turn. I'm not sending that person. And so there might be a little bit of pleading where people go, come on, send your guy, and we all get something. But you don't have to. And so that's interesting. But the supply depot with the bidding there, since everyone has different values on your characters, I may really want to use specific characters, but they have a higher number on them. It's worth bidding. That ambassador is a 7. He's probably the most powerful action. The fact that you can get a card of your choice and 2 wild resources is pretty incredible. I don't care if I give everyone else a resource, but that 7 for bidding is a big deal, because the bidding not only can give you the first player marker, which may or may not matter, but it gives you 2 things, and it gives you first pick. And later on in the game, when stuff like those special relics show up that give you special abilities, I want to pick first. I want to get something good. And it's a really, I found that those auctions are interesting because you have 5 workers, but sometimes I'll spend 1 on the High Council, 3 on the supply depot, and now I have 1 left for the action. So I can only take 1 action, unless of course you get those cards that give you a little action you can take with the card, a temporary worker. And I just find that stuff to be fascinating on how it all comes together and works like this. The theme is cool. It's not tremendously strong. This could have been set somewhere else other than space. Parts of the theme make sense, like the supply depot, one-way shipments coming from Earth, and everyone's taking them around and using them. So I get a lot of that, and there's, you know, the sci-fi trappings and the art and all that looks really good. But at its heart, this is a mid-weight game of maximizing resources, using those resources to build cards. And there's not direct conflict, like I'm not blowing up your stuff in this game, but we are fighting on those prestige tracks. It's not get to a certain degree to get points, it's whoever's highest. So you're constantly fighting with everybody else to be the highest on particular tracks. And that is probably going to swing the game at some point. You just have to find the most efficient way to get there. It's a game that looks good. It's a game that's very fun. Pandasaurus these days is really putting out good, solid games, and Godspeed is definitely one of them. Check it out. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time. Dice Tower Judgment approved!